whole way that David started thinking about how to present both a liturgical and a aesthetic and concert, and something that communicates to the community at large what we call the theology of hope and Advent and that kind of thing. And so that would be, I think, really interesting. How did you come up with this idea?
Well, it's I've always loved lessons and carols, the traditional lesson and carols, but I thought that that's not really what we wanted with a Christmas concert, was straight lessons and carols as they as comes out of England, and so I played around with that idea a little bit, and since the concert happened so early, I also didn't want to have it just a bunch of Christmas music, because it's the beginning of Advent as well. And so I just kind of worked through this idea of the Christmas story, and that there were the promises that were made, and then the promises that were fulfilled, particularly through the incarnation. So that gave me the idea of that two-part structure: a promise made and a promise fulfilled. And then within each of those two sections, have a couple sections in there, one on Advent, one on Annunciation, because of the announcing of that of the event, and then in the second section on Incarnation, the actual event, and then the celebration, how the world is transformed. So that it wasn't just a sequence of nice Christmas music, which is fine, but I wanted to have a little more continuity in there and have it more of telling a story, and describing what happened, and what happens, and then using the idea of lessons and carols, the idea of some sort of reading to start each of those four subsections, and finishing off with something that the audience will all sing with, to have them a part of the program as well, so that it's just not the people on the stage, but that the audience is also a participant within this concert. So.
And Benaroya is such a beautiful hall where somebody could say something in the back and you could hear them. So now you take over 2,000 people, having them singing with the 170 voice choir and the wind ensemble and the strings and the big organ. And then, of course, we always try to add the herald trumpets to make it significant.
Well, yeah, because we want to make that celebratory, because this is Christmas. And I think it flows well, and it gives every ensemble a chance to, because we have everybody on stage at the same time, we don't shuffle on and shuffle off with different groups. We have a chance, every group has a chance to do a little literature that might not just be a Christmas carol, but maybe something a little different, maybe something for Advent or Annunciation. And then also having the different groups on the stage, it allows us to work with texture as well, from the pieces where everybody on stage is playing and singing and the audience is singing to things where it's very small and very intimate, say with the chamber singers or just the strings, or so we can change the colors. And so you can give a little shape to the program, and allow it to not be so routine.
Well, I've really appreciated you being the artistic director, and then how you, in fact, I bet you that you are thinking about the next one, whether you know it or not.
But already happened.
But what's so wonderful to me is that how you could take so many different groups, so many different people, and to collaborate all these different people, and then it just spins out in a beautiful story in such a beautiful way, in that kind of structure. And I know in Seattle it's the only thing. I mean, the people in Benaroya consider us now the traditional Christmas concert over the Seattle Symphony and everybody else, because of the continuity and the way it tells that story, and the way people walk away knowing, oh, I'm ready for Christmas. But I also know what it took for you to do that, from beginning to end. And you've taken people like me and all the other different professors of music, where we bring to you different pieces, and then you group it, and then you have this plan.
It's not always easy.
You know, it isn't easy, but you've done it, and I think in such a brilliant way. And each year, you say, does it get better? And man, this year, it was really, I don't know if we try to get better than this one, but we try to be consistent. It was really just brilliant the way you put it together.
Well, yeah, we want to have and everybody's been real great. All the directors have been real great of understanding what the event is and being willing to consider literature that will that can work. So we have not only the mix of groups, but then the mix of topics throughout the evening, but also that we have a mix of the kinds of music that are in there. Everything from simple carols, really straightforward, to things that are a little more complex, a little more concert literature, so that it isn't just an entertainment, but it is it actually says the concert says something.
I think the audiences, both in the 4 o'clock, and then for some reason, maybe because we noticed it because of our second time, and so we became more attuned to the fact of what the audience, but the response of really getting into the story with us, and having some anticipation, and to be doing that, where it became corporate worship. It became corporate worship. Individuals gathering in, and it was quite a vehicle for that. I know as a composer and arranger, I love it when you come to me and say, okay, now we don't have the music for this, now are you going to write this for me? You know, and I think that keeps me alive and so that makes it also very special, because sometimes we have to just customize the music to include everybody, you know, and so that's it. And so I think we have a wonderful vehicle that serves our music, School of Music. It serves the university of who we are, and most importantly, I think it's a really wonderful message of hope, that when people really are starting to say, oh, Advent is here, and this is really a wonderful way to celebrate it. So some of the things that have come to me is that this is going to be a tradition for my family.
Right.
And I think that's wonderful.
Going to 2 concerts this year was a challenge for
absolutely
for everyone, because it's
I'm still recovering.
Yeah, it makes it quite a long day, and but I thought the students handled it quite well, and I was very pleased with the audiences. Although it's a little different character in the audience between an afternoon concert and evening concert, which I thought was interesting. The matinee I mean, it was, both audiences were great, but
absolutely,
the afternoon concert, which I sensed were more people who had been to the concert before, responded really quite well. But the evening concert, which I think had a lot more people who had never experienced it, seemed seemed more fascinated with the concert.
Oh yeah, their eyes. When I conduct out there and conduct, I try to look and see what people are, because I like to communicate and to bring people in that we're doing this together. But it was, both times, it was really interesting to see how people are responding. But it was kind of like being an old music educator, of seeing a child saying, wow, this is really something. And I got a little bit of that in the evening, the second one, where it was a lot of new people, this is really happening, you know, and it came together. Really important for our students in worship art to understand how this can be done, and how all the pieces are put together.
Yeah, and it was also good for the students, although members of a group like Concert Choir, where we tour and we have multiple performances, some of them already have a sense of how that feels, but it's always difficult to have 2 performances and make the second one as fresh and meaningful as the first.
And especially 2 full houses at Benaroya.
But I thought the students responded really quite well. I thought that they had as great of a spirit and energy and desire in that second concert